today we talk a little bit about essential growth hacker tools. We're going to talk about 2 tools what we use for Happit. And actually, it helped us to identify some flaws we had on the website. And we can already feel the difference right now. We feel the So yeah, let's get on. So what tools did we use, Odi?
Well, we actually mainly, as of course you always use your Google Analytics, but then sometimes it's a little bit harder to go through all of that. And then if you're not that expert in how it works on this functionality, these are very useful tools. So in order to really see who was coming to visit the website and what they were doing, we combined 2 tools. So one was Lead Feeder. It's actually a Finnish company, so of course we had to try them first. And that way we were able to see kind of like the names of companies and identify like on the bigger picture who was visiting us. And then we actually use Oribe, which was a little bit more in depth, and we wanted to see what was the visitor journey, and they are a very nice alternative to Google Analytics. I mean, it's not that you're gonna stop using it, but this is a complement that will help you to visualize in a graphic way what are people doing, and then be able to track their actions without actually having to get into the code or without actually having to go into the specific Google tools to set stuff.
Right. So let's look first at Oribe. So this is a screenshot from the tool. Here, for instance, you see your visitors. So of course, the ones you see with the email are probably the ones you already have given their email for any marketing before.
Yeah, I mean, we have to remember that we have the privacy, law here around the world. So now you're not just allowed to track anyone. So when you have visitors that have actually that you can identify, that means that they've given you their information through either a download or subscribe to your newsletter or something like that. So that way you can track them more specifically. But then if you look at the bottom of the example, there's one that says visitor 154, X. So those are kind of like the new ones, and that's an easier way also to identify, okay, these are like newer visitors that are coming and what are they doing. I think the fun thing about this one is that you're seeing who is coming to your website. And then based on the sessions that they've been doing in your website, how long did they stay in some of your pages, or even kind of like an evaluation of the visitor. Is it like someone that just came, saw, and left, and so it's not so active? And that way you can already see visually, I might not be so interested in this person, but then it might be a new visitor, like the last one that came, did 3 sessions, was looking throughout the pages. And then it's like, well, he's already an active guy. So then that means that he's really interested in what you're saying or selling.
Yeah, exactly. So you see their activity level on the right-hand side. And what I also like is that you see from which traffic source they actually came to your website. So as we have now learned through our growth hacking channel that you have different ways to generate traffic. And here you actually see, so you can see if you run a campaign in Facebook and you can see, okay, there is not much traffic coming from there. You can either see it, of course, on the Facebook performance on the ad, but then also you can really see, okay, they come actually to the site, and you can see, okay, stay there. Do they stay there and then really, go through the whole thing, or do they just come, click, and then bounce off? So in that sense, it's very, very useful.
It is. I mean, and the thing is that it's very, very visual.
Yeah.
So that's why that's why it's a nice tool to have, especially if you're in the beginning, in the beginning phases.
Yeah. So when you create new websites or new sales pages or whatever, you can really follow the journey. So here you can see, for instance, click events. So you can see what clicks had happened.
I mean, this is again like then we're kind of like moving to another let's say layer, because for example, But a lot of the times when you want to see what actions people are taking, it's sometimes harder in Google Analytics to connect the visitor to the action in the buttons.
Yeah.
And then in here, pretty much you just drop one line of code and Oribe will do everything for you. It will set the tags, so you don't actually have to do any tagging on your website to be able to report it properly, which sometimes you mess up, especially if you're not if you're starting with analytics with Google. So this one is like a really easy one line of code, almost like Happit. Drop one line of code and we'll take care of everything. So so in that sense, you connect directly one person to the actions, and that is really difficult to do in Google Analytics. You can do it, but it takes a lot of work. So they simplify it a lot.
And actually, in our case, because of Oribe, we figured out a flaw on the website that we figured out that it was actually too hard to get in touch with us, even though we believed that
it was super easy.
Exactly. Yeah. So just because we figured out that there was actually a technical flaw with our contact forms, and we didn't know, we just assumed that, okay, our campaigns aren't working, right? Or that we need to further growth hack or something. And actually they were working, because there was some people really spending a lot of time on our website trying to get in contact with us. Of course, maybe we have lost some opportunities through that, but hey, that's the part of the game. So we then, of course, changed the logic, changed a few small things, and now things are keeping to improve. So because of Oribe, we actually figured that out. So for us, it was very, very valuable.
Yeah, and it was kind of like the whole thing in practice. So for example, if we go to this screenshot, we saw the visitor when we saw the journey, and we're able to see, okay, they are actually spending what buttons are being pushed. Then we realize, okay, they are there, but the buttons of contact or sending the form are not being pushed. So there was definitely something wrong in that middle step. So
here in this screenshot, you see the customer journey. So you see the customer arrived from direct, entered the page, stayed there for 12 seconds, clicked on that, and then clicked on why is my traffic down.
Yeah. So we pretty much knew that in our, this is, for example, a generic example, but that we got from Oribe, but in our case, we were able to see, okay, they came from our growth hacking campaigns, either YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. In many cases, they were coming from YouTube because we were very active, like a couple of weeks in YouTube. So it came from YouTube. It went to the landing page of the campaign in YouTube, and then it moved to the main website, and then he went there to contacts and stuff. So he went to 3 contact pages, like some of our visitors, and so it was easier to make the assumption of where was the problem. And when we fixed it, then we started getting some downloads.
Yeah.
And some engagement.
So the next one is Lead Feeder. So and the interesting thing, they work nicely together. So for instance, as we said in the beginning, that in Oribe, for new visitors, you obviously don't know where they are from, but you see from which country they are. So when you combine it with Lead Feeder, you actually see, okay, these are the companies from that particular country who are looking at your website. And like that, you can make assumptions. Okay, maybe at that time it was this company. So you can go start to look into that company and who of their staff could have come there, right? So you don't either see the person, but you see the company, I guess, and a few people, right?
I think, but let me backtrack a little bit. The reason why we're combining them also is because we're working with the freemium versions of both softwares. If you actually pay the premium versions of them, you're gonna get more info.
Yeah.
But it is true, like you, instead of seeing I think in Lead Feeder, you could at some point already see in the premium versions, the individual users, but you don't really, again, you don't get to link them that much. So in this case, we wanted to work with the 2 of them, because that way, or if it does show us the country, the country where they came from, and we're seeing the visitors to the companies that are like from where they're coming. And exactly, we could make the guest assumption. So if you don't have that much money to spend, or in the beginning when you don't know, okay, is this the right tool for me or not, you can combine the tools and get the same result without having to pay money. Eventually, there are so many other, let's say, more in-depth functionalities of both softwares, but you need to pay for the premium. So it's also about which one you feel more comfortable with. I personally like a lot the interface of Oribe, but I really love the fact that, for example, if you're doing B2B business like we're doing in Happit, that I could identify already like companies. So that was in a sense a little bit more meaningful for me, because then I can target specific engagements to those companies. Because I don't know, I guess this is a common problem that a lot of guys that are doing marketing for B2B have, is that we know it's very hard to know who's actually the decision maker. So you can actually so in this case, I know that it's a little bit of a higher level strategy to target the company as itself, but then if you don't know who's actually purchasing, you can at least generate the awareness. It's more of an awareness campaign strategy level.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in the beginning of any marketing campaign, you start on doing assumptions according to your, let's say, industry knowledge or your own experience. But as we know, with growth hacking, the real power comes when you really get the data of what's going on. So and that is, as you said, a really good way to get started. But as I said, those tools have really great premium features. So when they start to create value, then definitely it makes sense to look at those. So here is another screen, and the last screen for today. We will then link all the links to those two different tools on the description in the YouTube video. So please go check them out.
Yeah, and pretty much in this one, it's also like a little bit of extra stuff that it tells you on lead feeders when you're defining your industry, what you're about, and your website, and you also have to install like a line of tracking code on your website, which is also very easy to do, so as easy as the one from Oribe. It kind of like and Happit. It understands what your website is about, what's your industry, so it kind of like also shows you the relevance for you as a company, that you kind of like, okay, this is someone in the industry you wanted to know about, or it's a little bit of an extra information that, depending if you know how to use it, it could actually be quite powerful. So the combination of the two tools really helped us at least to narrow down a little bit our targeting and to get to understand what's going on in our website without having to go to Google Tag Manager and tag every single button and tag every single page and try to build like a visual graph that goes like, it looks more like an Excel at the end of the day for the reporting. So these ones were able, we managed to do it visually without having to go deep in its sort of coding or anything.
Okay, cool. Hey, on that bombshell, we are done with the episode today. So check it out, oribe.io, then leadfeeder.com. I said we will link the URLs on the YouTube video. Thanks a lot for watching and have a great week.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.